When veterans go on an honor flight trip to Washington, D.C., most say the day was even better than they imagined it would be. I went along on Honor Flight Northeast Indiana's trip on Wednesday, and for Army veteran Byrd Fredrickson, this trip had an extra big surprise. Heading into the Women's Memorial in Washington, D.C., Byrd Fredrickson had no idea what awaited her inside.
I just want to see some of the pictures.
There were the things you'd expect to see.
Probably at Fort McClellan, the way they're marching.
This picture here says Fort McClellan, Alabama. Look at you.
Yeah.
But the memorial now has a new picture.
You see up on the big screen, Byrd?
Oh my God.
Master Sergeant Byrd Fredrickson added to the registry.
We just want to honor you today by putting your profile into the National Women's Memorial in DC. And all of your information will be here for any person who comes to visit this memorial to thank you for your service.
Byrd spent 22 years in the Army, joining in January 1958.
I worked in personnel and I thoroughly enjoyed it. We created a new system and I was part of it to begin with.
She had a strategy for her service.
If you go in, never take more than 3 years, because if you don't like it, you could get out. So I did 22, doing it every 3 years.
Those 2 decades included 3 tours in Germany.
Where were you in Germany?
There's only one place.
Heidelberg?
That's right.
Me too.
For her big moment, big leaders, an Air Force general, an Army lieutenant colonel came to say thank you too.
For all that you did in making this system of keeping track of people better than it was, and for all that you did as a woman during the time frame that you were in to be a master sergeant and be in charge of people the way you were. So every one of us can be proud of Byrd.
A generation who paved the way for women today.
On behalf of myself and all women in the military, that you are such an inspiration to all of us, and we look up to you so much. You've done so many things and have spearheaded the way for all women, and we just can't thank you enough. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Nearly 165,000 women have their military service registered at the memorial, but they hope to grow that to 500,000. Now, Byrd's is just one of many, many stories on this year's honor flight. We will be featuring more moments from the day over the holiday weekend and in every show all day long on Memorial Day, Monday, so be sure to watch for them. Now, this was my second honor flight. I know, Pat, you've been on the flight before. They're just so humble, and we are just so grateful to all of the veterans. It really is incredible to meet them.
And the organization Honor Flight Northeast Indiana does such an incredible job, and you did a wonderful job telling Byrd's story, and she is one of many, as you said. So it's just very moving, and looking forward to seeing all of those stories throughout the weekend. Well, the latest Northeast Indiana Honor Flight brought 85 veterans to our nation's capital to see the memorials built in their honor.
I had the privilege of going with them on Wednesday to document the trip and bring you some of the veteran stories. So this afternoon, we're meeting the Smith brothers. A table full of photos.
Would you believe that's me?
The images, black and white.
Okinawa patch, and I was a corporal then.
But the memories and stories, colorful.
This here's a trash can. I was an artist and I painted this emblem on there.
From caps and gowns to a wedding suit to Army fatigues and the ice cream lady scooping up smiles on a military base in Japan.
This is a picture I think I took of myself while I was over in the barracks in Germany. I had cameras, and photography was one of my hobbies.
3 Korean War veterans.
I'm the oldest.
And how old are you, Carl?
I'm 85.
All right.
I'm Jack, and I'm 83.
And I'm Larry, and I'm 82.
Brothers, born and bred in Huntington.
I got drafted in April '53. That's 1 year after I graduated from high school. I was in the Army.
Went in June 6th of 1953, but I volunteered to be drafted.
I joined the Army in December of 1953, 3 days before I was 18, and I got out a day before I was 21.
The Smith boys had military examples too. 5 uncles all served in World War II.
And they all come home, and they were in combat.
The Korean War was ending when the brothers joined the Army. Carl spent a year and a half in Okinawa.
It was 7 typhoons, would you believe it or not? 7. And we just got new barracks, and they're typhoon proof, so we were okay there.
Jack earned the Expert Rifle Medal and was in the Army occupation in Germany.
I was a clerk typist in battalion supply. Anybody that knew how to type could get a typing job because there wasn't very many back then that could type.
Larry spent a year in Ranger training, ultimately staying stateside.
Company commander asked me, he said, "How many words a minute can you type?" And I said, "Oh, maybe on a good day, about 2. He said, "That's good enough." So for 25 months, I became a company clerk.
While they were separated by land and sea, the pen and paper kept the brothers close.
What was that like when you would get a letter from one of your brothers?
Well, that's something, I'll tell you. It really was.
It probably meant more then than it did before we went in.
What would you write to each other about?
Just what we did that day or what would happen. Some had excitements and some didn't.
Now the trio's taking another trip, but this time together to Washington, D.C. with Honor Flight Northeast Indiana.
Today was awesome. I think in 80 years or so that we've been brothers, that this probably been one of the most exciting days we ever spent together.
It was the finest day I've had in a long time.
Really surprised at all the people that come up and shook my hand. In fact, this is, since I got out of the Army in 1955, this is the most respect I got from anybody.
This trip's mission, to honor and thank.
The kids would come up and shake my hand. Couldn't believe that.
For their selfless service and sacrifice.
Unbelievable.
And this time, the snapshots will be in color too.
Those guys were so great to hang out with. Now, I captured many more moments and stories on Wednesday's Honor Flight, and we'll have a different story in every show all day long on Memorial Day, so be sure to watch for our coverage on Monday.
Beautiful story. What a family. Well,
Honor Flight is a special trip for veterans to see the memorials built in their honor in Washington, D.C. News Channel 15's Alyssa Ivinson went along on the latest Northeast Indiana Honor Flight and explains why this trip was extra special for 5 veterans on that plane.
Maybe Korean is on down that way.
Tom, Carl, Lester, Aaron, and Donald on their way to the Korean Memorial.
This is Korean up here?
Their memorial.
Then I went to Korea, and he went to Germany.
Oh.
All 5 are Korean War veterans.
Hey, you know, I was just 21 when I got it drafted. Just going to be 21 within a month. I'm 87 now.
Okay.
All 5 childhood friends.
You know, I just figured out, me and you were the furthest apart when we was growing up, 5 miles.
Is that right?
The other 4 is within that area.
Yeah.
Tom and I grew up together side by side.
Childhood friends.
They didn't serve in the same places during the war, but when they found out they had all been placed on the same honor flight,
We've been friends lifelong.
We like each other, don't we? Yeah.
It was a surprise that made seeing the memorial in their honor.
Here it says Holland, Turkey, and
These are the other countries that were.
Yeah, Sweden must have been.
Even more memorable.
That's fantastic, I think. I enjoy it immensely.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Likewise. Wish you a good day.
That was Alyssa Ivinson reporting, and you can see several more stories from the Honor Flight trip in this story on Wane.com right now. And new tonight at 6 o'clock, see the World War II Memorial through the eyes of a World War II vet. It's a great story. You'll want to stick around for that. Honor Flight was started in 2005, right after the World War II memorial was done in Washington, D.C. It's a program to take veterans to see the memorials built in their honor. News Channel 15's Alyssa Ivinson went along on the latest Northeast Indiana Honor Flight and has this story from the Capitol.
Of the 85 veterans, 6 were World War II veterans. This is the story of the World War II memorial through the eyes of Jack.
Welcome to your memorial, sir.
To Jack Holmes,
Oh, this is something, huh?
the World War II memorial
Oh, and it's beautiful.
is a trip back in time.
I was on the ship close to all these places. Tinian, right. That's where we docked, and I went in for supplies.
Okay.
And that's where they was unloading the atomic bomb for Japan.
Were you there when they flew out?
Yeah, we pulled out, and then I was 300 miles from the Indianapolis when it sunk.
Strangers stop for a history lesson that they can't read in a book.
I've been around long. I was on the USS Conaway. But we had good equipment, and then it wasn't up to date, nothing like today.
When the war broke out, Jack was still 17.
I was going to enlist in the Air Force. My mother wouldn't sign for me. And then I come back, and a year later, then I enlisted in the Navy.
Jack served from 1944 to 1946 on the USS Passaconaway.
I was all over.
Now seeing those places of war etched in stone.
It brings back memories.
Brings back memories, doesn't it?
Big time.
Yep.
Can't imagine.
Letting the fountain fill the silence. Taking moments to pause. And reflect.
I got all these places I've been, you know.
At 94 years young, around the memorial built in his honor, this World War II veteran feels the thanks of a country, one handshake at a time.
This has probably been the most interesting day of my life. I tell you, I've never shook so many hands in my life. I've never thought that people would appreciate what I've done in my life. It's fantastic, fantastic, really is. Yeah. It's amazing.
In Washington, D.C.
So much, so much.
Alyssa Ivinson, News Channel 15.
I certainly do appreciate what you did, Jack, and all the other veterans who have given so much for our country. You can see more veterans' stories from the Honor Flight trip in this story on Wane.com. And new tonight on Nightcast, we'll take a look back at the entire day in D.C. It was a busy and a special day for veterans on the Honor Flight to Washington, D.C. News Channel 15's Alyssa Ivinson went along on the latest trip and has their story.
It was a long day of seeing a lot of memorials, but every veteran we spoke to had the same word to describe the day: awesome.
It was overwhelming. I didn't know how to take it when we first boarded the plane.
From the moment they boarded the plane in Fort Wayne to the crowds awaiting their arrival in Washington, D.C. These 85 veterans recognized as heroes.
Just an amazing day, let me tell you.
It's great. It's really great.
A full day in our nation's capital, from the World War II, Korean, Vietnam, and women's memorials.
I appreciate you coming here to see your memorial.
Yes, it is, and I look forward to this very much.
To the ceremony and tradition of Arlington.
My favorite part was seeing the changing of the guard. I loved that, yeah.
A day of smiles.
Just so proud of my dad and all these men who served. So very, very proud.
And tears of gratitude.
I'm so proud to be here.
And I think this is really something. For sure we're veterans and everything, but this is really nice. It really does. It makes you proud to be here, be an American.
I got pretty teary-eyed quite a few times.
People lining the halls.
A tremendous experience. A lot of people made this happen, and I appreciate that.
To give a homecoming some never got, but always deserve.
We're all American, and we did our job to keep us all safe, and I'm very proud of our country.
Alyssa Ivinson, News Channel 15.
An amazing series of stories put together by Alyssa. Thank you so much for that. And you can watch all 7 Honor Flight stories along with some web-only bonus video right now at Wane.com.